Hello, everybody out there. This is your boy AJ Orsini, and I told you guys on the podcast, I told you guys we were going to mix some things up now that I've come back. The OUM network is in effect, and one of the branch off shows that I was mentioning to you guys is the Independent Spotlight. Now, we've done interviews in the past through the audio podcast, but I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to shake things up, not just for podcasting, but for me myself. Because remember, this show is all about me, all about my interests and what I want to do and how I want to do it, and hopefully bring along a few friends to enjoy the ride. And I have a friend with me here today. He will be forever known as number one. I'm flurried. Number one on the list. He is the first guest of Independent Spotlight, presented today by the OUM Network. This gentleman is a ring announcer like no other. I know a little something about ring announcing, ladies and gentlemen, and he's one of the best out there today. I have happily had him announce me. I think I've announced him. We've gone back and forth. He's predominantly in the Connecticut area, but this man has made his roads, his trips all over the place. He's got his miles in. This guy knows the business, and I am looking forward to having a very, very in-depth conversation with him today. Now, before I bring out my guest, I want to explain the setup just a little bit for you guys out there, since it's the first time I'm doing it. Pay attention, because I'm not going to do this every episode. We are here today to talk in not one, not two, but I keep doing this with the blur, 4 different stages. The first stage, we're going to get to know a little bit about the person. The second stage, what brought them to wrestling. The third stage, how much ass have they been kicking in wrestling? And of course, I'm bringing back a fan favorite, with stage 4 being my R.A.F.S, the random as fuck questions. This guy has no idea the questions that I have for him today, and we're going to see how quick his mind really goes, because he will be on the clock for all 4 stages. That's right, folks. We're timed 60 minutes on the clock, and we're going to bring in our guest right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the first interviewee of the Independent Spotlight, Mr. Matt DaCorte.
What is up, AJ?
Hey, it's Matty. What's going on, brother?
Oh, not too much, man. Thank you very much for having me. It is so cool that I get to be your first video guest on this.
You never forget your first, Matt.
Popping that cherry, baby.
You are the number one. You're number one, the first guest to be on the Independent Spotlight. When I was sitting down coming up with a list of names, I'm like, who do I genuinely just want to talk about? Forget the position, forget what they do as a job in the wrestling business. And I think that's going to be the vibe for the rest of this series. Just like, who is that interesting cat that I really want to bring on here? And when I was sitting back trying to think about who should be the first guest for the Independent Spotlight, I really wanted to think more along the lines of who I would really be more interested in learning more about, because I think that should be the purpose of an interview for me. I should be hearing things that I've never really heard before, or get to know more in depthly about someone that I'm a fan of. And me personally, no smoke, I'm a fan of you. I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of what you do. The first time I ever met you was PAPW, and you were introducing me and the big man.
Yep.
And, I'm always and maybe we'll learn more about this with you, but I know for me, I can be a little pretentious when it comes to those, to those pesky ring announcers. I'm sick of seeing the jeans and sneaker guys get in here and try to do what we do. But I was very impressed with your work, and I've been impressed with your work ever since. So you definitely were a name on the list, and you definitely are somebody that I think I want to learn a little bit more about.
No, absolutely, and I thank you very much for that, AJ. You've been a friend, and a peer, and it's the last time I think I saw you was I think the first Tetsu show in
Yes.
back. I think that was like over a year ago now. It's just crazy, but
they're going strong.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, very happy for them. They got a great fun product, and I see you're going to be back in a slightly different capacity there, but
slightly. We'll get into that soon enough.
A
little different.
Yeah, but yeah, no, you've always been so cool with me, so supportive, and stuff like that means the world to me, because back when I first met you, I got to be honest, I was still not quite, but I was still in that a little bit of a deer in the headlights sort of phase,
right.
My footing and whatnot, and it's been great that we've been able to reconnect. I definitely want to see you in person again soon. Like I said, it's been a little minute since then, but very excited to be here, very excited to have some fun, and and talk about wherever this goes.
Well, let's talk about a little bit about where this is going to go tonight. So, sorry, as I already explained to the audience, we're going to be talking in 4 different stages here. Okay, and I'm going to introduce them to the audience right now, as a matter of fact, because stage 1 is the prologue. We're
Uh-huh.
going to learn a little bit more about yourself. We're going to learn a little bit more about Maddie. You know, what's going on in this dome of yours. After that, obviously, one of your passions is professional wrestling. That's what drove you here. And
Wonderful.
that will be stage 2, a passion revealed. We got to find out when this happened. What was the lightning bolt that hit you on the head that said, "Man, I really want to do this." And once that passion started, I want to find out after you got underway, and we'll talk about how you broke into the business and whatnot. Those damn pesky dues of yours. We know you've been paying them. We know you've been paying them. And I want you to share a couple stories about that, what it's been like to be in the business, some of your experiences. And as I told the audience, of course, stage 4, my random as you know what finale. You have no idea. I've got 10 questions that's going to be coming at you today. I mean, you're going to have to think on the spot. There's no preparation on this show for that.
Oh
All
boy.
right. So now with those random, they could, I mean, literally random, right? They could be wrestling related. They could not be. It's a tumbler. You never know. I just did a double dicker here thing. Don't worry about it. But we're gonna start off our show here. Oh, and of course, let's add this fiddling to the stage here. Now, for the record, I think it'd be more important. Excuse me, if there we go. I think it'd be more important. I don't know why it's starting. I didn't start you. Go back, buddy. Come on. Be kind to me now. I'm still talking. Daddy's still talking. So here's the deal. The timer is not a stressor. It's not like something that we're married to. If you feel like you're still explaining a point and you get to the end of it or whatever, obviously finish your point. This is not a quiz show. You're going to be all right, but it is going to be a way for us to track how long we've been a part of each stage, and how far along until we reach the next one, until we get to the end. So here we go. I'm going to start the clock on the prologue, and I'm going to hit you with the most basic, rudimentary opening question that anybody can probably use in an interview. Now I've hit play. There you go. Matt, where are you from? Where are you hailing from? Where does Matt DaCorte call home?
Well, Matt DaCorte hails from the shoreline area of Connecticut originally. I haven't moved far, but I was born and raised in a town called Branford, which is
Oh, okay.
right outside the New Haven area. Little later on in life, moved over to East Haven, whopping one town over. And so that's kind of been the general area I spent my youth. I'm in
Didn't
a
put much mileage on the U-Haul. It just went right. Back.
Nah. It was very very short amount of distance. The that first move, but yeah, that's where I've been at. Basically, shoreline Connecticut area, and like I said, I'm still in Connecticut, little more inland now, but not too far from home.
Okay.
So,
A lot of people get shocked when they hear this about me, but I used to live in Connecticut myself.
oh,
And we originally from New York, and my family moved to Hartford. But
gotcha.
from Hartford, we moved around. I spent most of my time actually in Middletown.
Okay.
So I knew of people in Connecticut, and that's where the wrestling thing came over because Josef von Schmidt used to run the PWA school down there.
Mhm.
He used to come to New York. We used to gab a little bit, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, Bristol. I've been to all those places. I used to live over there, and blah blah. And boom, next thing you know, I'm ring announcing for PWA. So there you go.
Ah,
Which is how we met the Tetsu guy. So
yes,
keeping it
yes.
all in the family there.
100%.
Speaking of which, family wise, I mean, you come from a big family or a smaller family? You have siblings?
Believe it or not, I am an only child, so that.
Oh, see, no, I do believe it's spotlight right here, baby. I understand how that goes.
Oh yeah, no, and then that's one of the things we can get to a little later on. But one of the things that is carried over, I used to have, a bunch of toys and stuff like that, and I ain't gonna lie, I still
Oh,
collect.
were you an action figure guy?
I 100% was an actor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and
You
I
still have any of them?
oh god, yeah. Let me see if I could actually let me show you some of my recent hauls
Oh,
here.
wait a minute. Let me pull this back.
Oh,
This is exclusive right here. Hold on. Hold
okay.
on. Listen, there you
All
go.
right, here we go. So here's
Talk's
some of
still
the
running,
stuff.
but go ahead.
I got some Spidey stuff. I got a little Ruffalo there, and then this is the bad boy right here in the corner right here. That's Sauron, man. I've wanted
Oh,
that figure for a minute, and I got a hell of a deal on it. Shout out to
it's keeping the
Brickhouse.
rest of the table in check. That is awesome, and I'm assuming that this also led to your fandom when you were a young one, because getting into wrestling as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, my first experience with it was in because I was born in '88. So when I started, learning what stuff was and being able to remember stuff, it was, the mid '90s, late '90s, and that of course, was Monday Night Wars Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And my first experience was I was at a Halloween party for my elementary school, and one of my friends was dressed up. He had face paint. Was carrying around a baseball bat, and
Oh no.
I said, who are you supposed to be? And he goes, I'm Sting. And I
Oh,
said, what's a Sting?
yeah. From the
And
police?
I didn't even know the police back then. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh
But yeah, so that was that. And then my cousins who were a few years older, they were all into it and stuff. And I remember yeah, I'm sure everybody remembers the black scrambler boxes or D scrambler boxes,
no.
whatever you want to call them. And so I used to go over to my cousins' houses there, watch the pay-per-views, through those. And my parents weren't really that fond of it, so I'd have to sneak it in.
Uh,
And like I remember, like, they're out, shopping on Saturday mornings or going out to dinner on Friday nights. Friday nights I'd squeeze in ECW, and then like Saturday morning I catch all, the syndicated shows, like, your velocities, your, stuff like that. And that was how the fix started. And then a big thing too is one of my first game consoles was the Nintendo 64. And I know everybody talks about No Mercy, and No Mercy was great, don't get me wrong, but the underrated gem in that, the one I
are you
hold
gonna
the
say WCW versus NWO or
Revenge.
yeah, Revenge? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I
So that
knew
was a
it.
bit. I dumped so many hours into that game with me
Oh
and my.
yeah, oh yeah, I'm
So,
right there. I'm right there with you. I actually want to take you back just a second because you mentioned something that I want to continue on with the prologue,
yep.
and that being school.
Mm.
Now, you're currently, and I know sometimes people have a hard time believing this because this is what we love to do as performers. This is just something for a lot of performers. Performing is just what we do, and I don't think sometimes in our own heads we consider ourselves performers, almost like an actor or something like that.
Right.
When you
Right.
were in school, would you say that you were kind of an outgoing personality kind of guy? Did you do anything with stage or acting when you were in school?
No,
Okay.
it was honestly the exact opposite. Like I was literally that
Uh-huh.
guy that would go up to, do the class presentation in front of,
Right.
like 20 of the classmates or whatever,
Hmm.
and I would be shaking, like,
Oh,
and mumbling, fumbling over my words and whatnot. And so like it was really the exact opposite. So to be doing something like this now, it's just like holy shit,
yeah. It's you found your ability to get out of that shell just
I
a little
did. I
bit.
did.
What
And
do you think was the trigger? Okay, I want to go
yep.
to your first show ever, but what is it about wrestling when you're at this age? We're going back to
Mhm.
school for we're
Yep.
staying in school for just a second, but now
School is cool.
yeah, you're finding all these new things and you're learning about all these different things, but you're the shy guy. So
Hmm.
when you're in school and you're still have this fandom, is there anything happening during school where you're thinking to yourself, I might be able to do this? Or is this still like a far fetched idea? You're just a fan at this point.
Well, it was kind of multifaceted, but I'll kind of, make it as, succinct as possible. Basically what it was is, like we mentioned, I was the only child. I had, video games, toys, and my parents would give me to keep me occupied while they were, working class and whatnot. So, when I started getting wrestling figures, I would be, practicing, the Howard Finkel voice, ladies and
Uh,
gentlemen, now making his way to the ring, here's The Rock in a
yeah,
crossover match against Goldberg, because like you couldn't do that. That wasn't a thing at the time. So, it's like I had the fantasy book back then. But so it's like I'd always practice it. And it was, one of those things when the first time I started breaking out of my shell was probably my college years. Um,
okay.
I went to the University of Rhode Island, had a lot of fun, smoked a lot of the devil's lettuce.
Of course.
Um,
Of course. Of course.
and,
Naturally, yes.
yep. And so that's when, I met a lot of great people there. And that's when I started, opening up and being more comfortable with myself. and being more willing to break out of my shell and accept me for who I was, and other people
Right.
did too. And after that, like I dabbled in, like some of my friends had like, like small local bands that would play like, open mics or like small gigs at pubs around
Right.
town and what have you. So like every now and then, like I would hop on and do vocals with them, like do a song here and there, and like, and
Any nerves? Were there any nerves then with the audience watching you and
not
nothing?
really, not really, because well then again too, having a little liquid courage at that
Oh,
point
yeah,
helped out a little
yeah,
bit, so it
yeah.
wasn't serious, you know what
You're
I mean?
singing all my pre-show tunes so far. Go ahead.
So yeah, so it was and like I said, it was only like one or two, so it wasn't like for like a full, hour, 2 hour show or anything like that. So it was easy to get in and get out. But and it was, another thing too was that, my first few jobs, I was in an office setting. I would answer the phones a lot, and like there were some people that'd be like, oh, you have a good speaking voice or whatever it was, or something along those lines,
Yeah.
and so like that, all those things kind of coupled together, that was when like I started to think to myself, like, there might be something here, like, and I always wanted the opportunity to prove that, I could be more than just, the funny guy who comes and hangs out, like I always thought there was a little more
I
to me.
know, it's a burden, isn't it? It's like having to do stand-up comedy every time you wanna leave your house. I'm like, "Jesus, my god, I'm a person, I have problems."
That, man, exactly. So yeah, no, and that's pretty much what was it. And it's just like, I needed the hardest thing was just finding an outlet for whatever it was, so like whether it was, going to be something like, music related, or, something, like I said, I've always loved wrestling since I was a kid. So, it's like I always was hoping that would be something, I might be able to get into. And, that might be that'll kind of tie into stuff a little later. So, I'll hold
Yeah.
off on going in the filibuster, especially since I see we only got 15 seconds left in this day. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
so I to sum it up, I knew that, I wanted to do something like this. I knew I could do something like this. I just needed a vehicle to help me prove it to myself, which I'm sure we'll get into later, that I found it.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. See, first stage is over. That didn't hurt, did it? No, we're doing all right. All right. So you know what? I feel like we've got a flow here. I feel like we're really cooking. Let's get back into it. I'm going to let them all know right now that that was the perfect segue actually to stage two of Passion Revealed. He found something. He found something. Now we're going to have the conversation about what it is you actually found and how we went about. Hit the button. There you go, big guy. All right. Now we're going to get into that conversation because for those of you who don't know, because I have been asked this before, Matt, maybe you've got the same experience as me. Where do I go to find a pro wrestling ring announcing school?
Well, the finding actual ring announcing school, I don't even think they make those yet. But
No.
so, and my foray into this was completely by happenstance. And
That's the story we want. What's going on?
yeah,
Yeah, you've got time
so
on the clock. What happened?
so as I mentioned earlier, I actually went to college for journalism. I wanted to be a writer,
Oh
and
my
that
God. I went for broadcast journalism now.
see, great minds think alike, my man. So freaking uh the reason I did that was because, I'll fully admit I'm not athletically gifted. There was a reason I was, the guy that was picked last in gym class most of the time.
Okay. All
So
right. Fair enough.
so I figured the way that I would, stay close to the things I liked, like sports, music, movies, whatever, I could write about them because I liked writing and I was halfway decent at it.
Okay.
And
With
so
that voice, maybe some sports casting perhaps
perhaps,
on the
perhaps.
table?
Um, so yeah, so I went to school for that, and eventually got a job working at a local paper in East Haven. This is around, I think, like 16, 17, somewhere around there, 18,
Okay,
somewhere in the late 2010s.
okay.
And so I did that for a little while, and through that, I met Big Steve Tracy, wrestled in WWF, now E, as Dave Paradise in the 80s. He
Right.
is the owners of Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling down in East Haven. So, Steve was very active in the town, like all the town goings on, functions, whatnot. And so, we would talk about town issues. He would give me quotes and contacts, to use for stories and stuff like that. And, so eventually one day, and he mentioned to me, he's like, "Hey, Matt, if you ever want to get involved in the wrestling thing, like, let me know." And I was just like, "Oh, hell yeah." So like,
Yes, yes,
this is
very much so. Yes.
wild. So he got me in touch with Mario Mancini, another one of the owners over there.
Mario Mancini. I love that guy.
That's my man. And so he brought me down to the training facility one time, and I'll never forget it. I walked in there and I was just like, oh, I was kind of like, because I would listen to like all the podcasts, and like it's like, do I start shaking everybody's hand? Like what do I do? Like, I'm not a wrestler. Like,
Yeah.
it was kind of like sensory overload, but it was really cool. Mario got me in touch with Big Daddy, aka the Guardian of Chaos.
There you go. Yeah.
And so I eventually started off, just doing commentary. I would get rotate. They had like a rotation in the booth, and I would come in, do like 2 or 3 matches. And then eventually got to a point where Big Daddy said, "You know what, I can't make this one. Let me. I want you to be lead play-by-play on this one." So I did that a couple times, and I'll never forget the first day it happened. I was in an event, and I did my first few rounds commentary. So I was just, sitting, hanging back in the crowd, enjoying the rest of the show. And
Hmm.
Mario walks up to me and he goes, "Hey kid, can you do me a favor?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, Mar, whatever you need." Not even saying, realizing what he was asking for.
Whatever you need is such a dangerous open invitation. But go ahead. Yeah.
Exactly. So he points up to the ring announcer at the time and he goes, "That's going to be you next week." And like my jaw was on the floor. I was like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And like, so I go into the show the next week. I got, my 3-piece suit on, looking stylish. It was the
Yeah.
only suit I had at the time. And they said to me, like, "We're gonna put you in, this back room here for a minute, practice with Big Daddy. If Big Daddy says you don't have it, then you're not doing it." And I put my best foot forward. I got the voice, I got the tone perfect. But let me tell you what, I step in that ring, and referee Bill Thompson will tell you, and because he remembers it clear as day too. I had my cards and some pieces of paper with some notes on them for the
Yeah.
intros and the plugs and whatnot, and I could barely read them for like the first 2 matches because my hands were shaking like,
I've been there. No, I know what you
dude.
mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Actually, can I ask you about the voice? Because speaking from personal experience, and maybe because you sound like you went through the same path. I also started on the commentary table,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then because of a call out, all of a sudden I became a ring announcer for the night, and then ring announcer for the next 4 years. So it was like it was a very similar path. Let me ask you about the voice, because for a lot of ring announcers, that's usually where your confidence slash I don't really want to do this comes from. Because when you catch your voice, when you find how you sound and how you want to sound for certain things like announcing talent or inflecting on championships or putting your best foot forward on a main event intro or something like that,
Mhm.
I'll be the first to admit, because my wife, she hears everything. So the first time I started ring announcing, for whatever reason, I was doing a lot of and my wife was like, "Where have I heard that before?" It turns out, for some oddball reason, when I started ring announcing, I was doing a David Penzer, and I don't know why. I was doing a world heavyweight championship, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, it is Penzer. I probably shouldn't do that shit anymore." And it's
Different
like, but
Frenchman.
it's difficult to find your own sound and
It
how
is.
you want to, not too much, not too little. How was that process for you finding that? Was it quick? Was it a process for you?
It's funny you mentioned that because that was another thing. And I want to shout out real quick to Paul Perez, and because he's the maestro with the soundboard there. Another one of the PAPW owners. Wouldn't be where I am without him. And also this next guy I'm about to mention, Paul Roma. Um,
There he is.
yeah, he, um, I'll never forget it. I was doing one of the alley fights
Okay.
Friday night, one of my first few times doing it, and my biggest influence, I make no bones about it, is Bruce Buffer.
There you go. All
And
right.
so I did the announcing, and when early on I would always ask all the guys, Mario, Paul, both Pauls, how did it sound, what do you think? And Roma, um he actually pretty much called me out on it. He said, he goes, you watch a lot of UFC, he's like, you like Bruce Buffer, how he does stuff, and I'm like, well, yeah, of course, he's the goat, it's like, so he's
Got to start somewhere.
right. He goes, well, that's the thing. He goes, you sound just like him, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when it kind of hit. He goes, don't try to be the next best, whoever it is. Be the best you can be.
Yeah.
Be the
Which
best
is good
you.
advice from someone who doesn't do what we do. I hate when people are like, "Hey, just sound like you." How the fuck do I sound? Because
Right.
I don't do this normally. How many times before you first start? But how many times do I go in front of a bunch of people and talk? So it's like
Right.
you have to find where that is, and
Right.
that's why I think people like us who have that experience, I always find it even, and I think you've seen me do it from time to time, even when because I've done every facet, wrestler,
Mm.
commentary, like I've had an opportunity to learn from people how to do all those little things, and it never stops me from seeing someone in the locker room and going, try it this way, because everyone always says, hey, just do your best. What the fuck does that mean? Try this.
Exactly.
Do this with your voice. Feels weird? Okay, up it, and or bring it
Yep.
down, or whatever. Just play with it until you find what you sound like. And I got to admit, you found your sound, because I know for a fact that as a performer, and I think you've experienced this yourself. There's something to the sound of a really good ring announcer in the ring when
One.
you're in your zone as a performer. So when you come through that, everybody has that time cue in their song, and they're all hyped. And when they bust through that curtain in here, coming to the ring from, it's like, oh, my dick's never been softer. All right, we're gonna have to find
Exactly. Exactly. And
we have to
that's
fix this.
exactly.
When I came out with the big man for your introduction, I was like, yeah, there you go. That's a fucking, and this is coming from someone who at the time was ring announcing. So I was
Yep.
like, yeah, that guy right there. That's dope. I like that. That guy's good.
Exactly,
That boy.
exactly. That's honestly what played, like stuff like that is what played a part in me knowing I was on the right path, because after I got that critique from Roma, I went back and I looked at things and I started pulling from more places. Like I started listening to more Howard Finkel intros. I started
Yeah.
pulling some stuff from like Michael C. Williams of Bellator, Joe Martinez in the boxing world, and I kind of amalgamed all that stuff together and added my own flair to it, and then just kind of kept on tweaking things, and then that's eventually when all the pieces fell together, and I'm like, all right, like I think I'm onto something. So
Yeah, we're gonna bring the next stage up, but before I do want to ask you a quick question
yes.
uh about you were just mentioning a lot of names right there.
Hmm.
And I just want to continue off from. I don't want to go into the next thing without finishing this one point. Maybe you'll agree, maybe you won't. With your experience, you let me know.
Sure.
With the names that you just mentioned, and maybe this is a little information for the folks out there who are maybe thinking about getting into ring announcing. You named a bunch of names who are all very good ring announcers, who all have not only different styles, different levels. So,
Hmm.
like, what I mean by that, like for people who aren't listening, like for instance, like a Howard Finkel, he's what I used to call like a power. He's a power guy,
Yep.
right? So, like when he enunciates, I should say, he does it straight from diaphragm. So it's huh, huh, huh. So it's like
Yeah,
World Wrestling Federation, like it's coming from like ugh, it's almost like fucking guttural.
yeah,
And then you'll have
exactly.
and then you'll have some that almost peacock, where they're up here, they're very straight, they're
Hmm.
on cam, like hard cam with the microphone, and they can inflect with it. You'll never see them fucking move. Where
Yep.
you're just like it just floats. The following contest is scheduled for one fall, and you're like, holy fuck! It's just kind of alleviating from him. Like so, like for those of you, I just wanted to point that out. There's different when we mean styles. That's what we kind of mean by style. Like some people just have that voice where they can just be like James Earl Jones, they're just, like that's very boisterous. And then
Oh,
there's people like me who have to like fucking mirrors and fool you into thinking that my voice is amazing. I'm just like grammatically great at what I do. So it's like it's shit like that. So
Uh,
about that and those damn pesky dudes that were out here playing. We're out here paying these damn pesky dues. And I'm gonna bring this back up. Hold on one second. Let's get this. There you go. Kaboom. Now here's the question that I want to start off with when it comes to paying those damn pesky dues. You've painted a wonderful picture for us. A fan as a child. You walked into a homemade Sting costume, and that opened the door for you. You found a way into the industry through your talent, not necessarily making the mistake that I made, which was I'm going to bump my ass off till it hurts and then find my way into something. You went in the talented way. You had genuine talent. I had to find my talent, but you found it right away. Has there ever, now that you're in the industry, and I think it's pretty safe to say you're comfortable now with the idea, okay, I'm in the pro wrestling business at
Wonderful.
this point. Um, Obviously, wonderfully talented vocally with your voice and the way that you present yourself and the way you structure the things that you do, pure professional. Has there ever been, because you were just saying before, not very athletically inclined, but I always ask this person this question to, because I've always asked it the other way. I'll ask wrestlers, what's the other positions in the industry that kind of interest you? So that when you're done dropping yourself on the back of your head and you want to try something, because that's how I got it. I broke so many things that people were like, you can talk pretty good. Maybe you should try sitting at the table for a little bit.
Yep,
How
yep.
about you going the other way? Has there ever been like an itch or a curiosity about taking those bumps and getting more physically involved?
It's one of those things where I wouldn't say like, probably not wrestling just because I just don't think like, like I said, I'm just not athletically inclined enough. I don't think I'm coordinated enough, and I know, that, there are, depending on what it is, you can make do with certain things, but it's just I just don't know. One thing I have thought of though is like I was thinking like maybe like being a manager at some point, like that would be kind of cool because
Uh, that was my sly little transition. That's
yeah, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, because like there have been a few times where it's like I'm bullshitting with with the men and women backstage,
no.
and like we'll just be talking, and then I'll start freestyling, and I'll just cut a promo, and then they'll just be like laughing. They're like, "Holy shit, that was fucking great!" And I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
that
you
happens.
never know. So
Yeah. Well, maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from. So I was a ring announcer, commentating, interviewing, all things that you've done and you've done proficiently. But and maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from with this. But when you're good at those positions, with the commentary, the ring announcing, what people see is your performance. What they don't get to see is all the bullshit that you have to do before the show starts. So it's like what you mentioned before about the notes, and then you have to do the sponsors, you have to plug the merch, you have to plug the social media, you have to let them know if the company you're with has a show already upcoming and planned. You have to then do the interviews where you have to go backstage and you have to stand in front of a green screen and you've got to do this and you've got that. Everything that we do, although we're having fun with it, and there might be some creativity that we're allowed to kind of, especially with the form of our questions or whatever the case may be, it's all based on what this other person wants us to do. It's not like we're sitting here going, I'm going to be this kind of ring announcer.
yeah,
It's like we have to do it based on the company we're with and blah, 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 blah.
yep, yep.
So, one of the things that I experienced at one point was just the frustration of I would really like to see creatively what I could actually do. So I had to kind of slowly, nonchalantly kind of take some risks, which was to stop taking the bookings that were coming, which is the ring announcing gigs, the commentating gigs,
Mm.
and focus and really dedicate myself to just, can I tell a story? Can I cut a promo? Can I cut a promo on a dime? Like if
Yeah.
we need to, this, can I do it like, because you know how companies are in the indies. I'm a heel here, but I'm a baby face here. So
Oh,
can I do the heel promo here, but not kill the baby face stuff I've got? It's a very delicate balance. Is that something when I explain it like that, is that something now that maybe you're more inclined to be like, I'd like to try that?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd definitely love to give something like that a shot, and then, even if, I need to get a little physical or something like that, there was,
Oh, the occasional manager bump,
yeah,
perhaps, maybe.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I got punched in the face one time. So, and from what I understand, because the reaction backstage, that must have looked pretty good. So,
Sold it
yep,
beautifully.
yep. So,
I
so
tell
it,
my guys all the time, you'll wrestle for 20 minutes, but no one forgets my bump. Because
yeah,
I only had the one. I got hit one time so hard my hat came off, and they were like, "Oh, look at you selling." I'm like, hey,
yeah,
you don't hate the player, hate the game, all right?
hell yeah. But no, yeah, and then like you said too, it's like even with managing, you talked about, with the ring announcing, the commentating, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of nuance to, being like someone like a manager too. It's like you got to know when to get the crowd in play. If you're cutting a promo, it's like, like you were mentioning, how do I, if I'm a heel, how do I get this guy over, but how do I not,
that's the
make,
hard part. I have to
yeah,
be entertaining enough to get him over, not me. So
exactly,
it's like a weird
exactly.
dynamic. Yeah.
Right, and then, not bury the other guy either, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, whoever the opponent is, give him his props, but at the same time, make him sound like a credible threat. It's a very
exactly.
delicate balance,
Yeah.
and that's something, that I think, like, 'cause of course, people, see, the suits and, the bow ties, and, they hear the voice, and believe me, I love you all for freaking, whoever's listening, AJ, yourself, I thank you all for the love and support. But, truly, a lot of people, I don't think, realize, how much goes into this kind of stuff behind the scenes as well, for
No,
sure.
I got nothing but appreciation for it, not just for what I've been through, but I love when I see people in my position persevere through the same things, or maybe even in some cases worse than me, especially when you have a home fed, because I traveled a lot, but like PAPW, that's like, these are places that you call home. So I know they're extra strict with you because they broke you in. So they're like, oh, you're going to
Yep.
do it this way, and this is how it goes.
Mhm.
I actually wanted to ask you about that because I know you're predominantly based in Connecticut, but how
Yeah.
much exposure outside of the state of of Connecticut um, have you had the opportunity of having?
That's actually this is actually kind of like the perfect time frame for me to answer that, because I have been, 2021 is really when things started to really pick up. And I made the rounds to, Rhode Island several times. I went as far up as Maine once, and, so I've been, tri-state area, New England. I've been here, there, and everywhere. Nowadays, I've actually been booked at a promotion in upstate New York, a Mortal, championship
Nice, nice.
for. I've worked all their shows this year so far, and I'm with them through their show in August at least. And they got a great product up there. Actually, I get to announce Minoru Suzuki in July, so
Nice. There you
that's
go. And what year are you in? You've been doing this now 4, 5?
well, that's I count it because I
The
started.
pandemic fucked everything up. I know. I know. The
Yeah,
pandemic fucked everybody's numbers up. I
yeah.
know.
Well, no,
But
because
you
it's
did
like,
technically start in about 2019.
well, I count it at 2019 because that was the first year that I got booked outside PAPW.
Okay.
Even within PAPW, that was the year that I started, that I basically got the torch handed to me as the guy there, quote unquote.
Yeah,
So
that was your house then. It was like, "This is mine."
yeah. So like so that's kind of when everything started to, that's when we got out of first gear, let's say.
Okay.
So that's when I started the timer. But realistically, I had been, doing the commentary thing probably since about like 2018, I want to say, somewhere around
Okay.
there. So yeah, all in all, so yeah, either way, but like consistently 5 years for sure. And then, probably like you can, uh, 5 years, whatever. Fuck
5
it.
years. Well, you know, the reason why I asked is I actually specifically said 4 or 5 because in my experience, not just in my career, but when I look at everybody else's that I've associated with, it's about 4th or 5th where the confidence is in now. Because now it's like that's why I asked that sentence because some people sometimes they have a hard time. I always say now you feel like you're in the business, right? And you're like, oh yeah, now I feel like I'm in the business, and that's usually around the 4th or 5th year because you spend your first few years trying so hard, and the clock's coming up, and I'm going to finish the point. But you spend your first few years really just trying to be as humble as possible because you're still
Oh,
trying to get your foot in the actual door, and you don't want someone to one day just look up and go, "Hey, that kid doesn't belong in here," and you're like, "Oh, wait, I'm sorry," and you spend like a few years doing that. But after a while, once the stress hits and you're realizing that everybody who runs the show has gone through you 15 times before the bell first rang, you're starting to realize, okay, I'm a little bit more important than I thought when this whole thing started.
yeah.
And so I'm going to end the third stage with one final question for you. Where do you feel you are confidence wise with your ability? Because as a ring announcer, and I've always said this and agree or disagree, I feel like the ring announcer controls the show.
No, no,
We
no.
conduct the speed of which this show, because in between the matches, the beginning, how the show wraps up, I feel like we're in control of the show for the most part. Where would you rank your confidence level, scale of 1 to 10, on how confident you are to be in control of a wrestling show?
Got it. No, and I'm actually going to use this opportunity to hit you with one of, if not my overall favorite Bruce Lee quote. Love me some Bruce Lee, and that is, "If I tell you I'm good, you might think I'm boasting, but if I tell you I'm no good, then you know I'm lying." And I love that quote because it
Yeah,
it's kind of like a humble way of saying, because that's the thing, you mentioned being humble, and that's the thing, like, I'm not one of these people that's, gonna, come out and say, oh, I'm better than this guy, oh, I'm better than this guy. There's a ton of great voices out here in our Northeast scene. I'm very happy and proud to be one of them, but I'm not gonna posture against my peers, and my
yeah,
and so that's why I love that quote, because to me it encapsulates, I'm not gonna, brag about how good I am. I'm not gonna put it out there that I think I'm, the best or even very good, but in my heart, you know, I know I know exactly what I'm capable of, and
there you
I
go.
know that I'm where I'm at for a reason. So
There you go. There you go. The way that I always describe it to people is that I don't know if I'm better than the guy next to me or the guy behind me, but I know that if you give me a microphone for 3 hours, there won't be any mistakes. This show is going to be as long as the microphone don't cut out on me.
oh
We should,
god.
we should be good. And I know you've had situations that I've had the gladiator style that shit a few times in the middle of the ring and just start hollering. I have absolutely been there. I have.
Real quick, no joke. Just real quick, I just want to slide
Yeah,
this in.
go ahead,
I have a
please.
megaphone in the trunk of my car just in case.
Just in case.
Just in case,
Yes.
because there have been times. Ah,
There have been times indeed. Look, it's been a fun time talking with you, man. This has been really great, a lot of fun. But it's time, unfortunately, for me to fuck with your head
oh,
because now it is time to hit you with my where is it here? Let's be professional here. There you go. My random as fuck finale.
let's
Now,
go.
as a little piece of what I'm talking about here from the audio podcast when I used to do interviews. I would end the interviews with these R.A.F.S, random as fucks, and there'd be 10. So 10 are coming your way. You've had no preparation for this. Is this correct? I have not shown you any of the questions.
I have no clue what's coming my way,
Yes,
and
no.
I don't know whether I'm excited or nervous or what. So
I'm slightly both scared and aroused at the same time. All
I
right. So,
was
all right. So
bringing on a kick.
So, so I'm not just going to say them for the audience's participation. We're going to see them on the screen here. So we're going to start off with question number one. Question number one being, what is that's miswritten, but what is your favorite color ink? And you can't pick black.
Ooh, color of ink. I'm
Yes.
gonna go red ink, just because when I think ink, I think tattoos, and my favorite color tattoo is red.
There you go. There you go. So, question number 2. Briefs, boxers, or boxer shorts?
Boxer shorts.
Ah, there it is, my guy. See, a real man's underwear. Anyway, I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the first person to hit me with briefs. I will be judging accordingly. Oh,
I wouldn't blame you.
now, this one's a little tricky. What is your favorite healthy cereal? Don't
Ooh.
give me your sugary ones. We all have those debates. Which one is your go-to, man? I need my fiber hit today.
Okay. Would Honey Nut Cheerios count?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so. I
Uh,
believe so.
it
I
is.
believe so.
Cheerios it is.
Favorite healthy cereal, Honey Nut Cheerios. Okay, I'll go with that. Number 4. What's a superpower you would want the least?
Ooh, shite.
Everyone's got their favorites, but which one do you just trying to stay the fuck away from?
That's a. I would probably say like. I would probably say like some kind of like morphing power, like not like a Power Rangers morphing. That would be cool,
Yeah,
but like something like
shape
like
shifting type deal.
no, like it'd be more like the well, kind of more like like the Thing or like
Oh, like grotesque morphing of the
yeah,
body,
exactly
like
because
Swamp Thing. You don't want to turn into a
yeah.
swamp
Yeah,
thing.
no, I don't want to turn into something nasty like that, or like a werewolf, or like a vampire, something
I
like
don't
that.
want to turn into a swamp thing, please. Whatever you do,
No, 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 no. I'm pretty sure that'd be way to get unbooked permanently. So,
that would be yeah, that'd be a pretty quick way to do that. Pretty quick way. Number 5. What was your shoe size when you were 16?
10 and a half, I think.
I'll let the ladies know if I'll let the ladies imagine if it's changed since then. But yeah, we're starting off strong, ladies. You see that? Starting off strong. I know a 40-year-old with a size shoe 8, and I yeah, exactly. I said you couldn't stub your toe if you wanted to. Here we go. Number 6. When in a relationship, what is something your partner can do that gives you the ick? What is a
Ooh.
female ick?
Um.
What we
Uh,
got? What we got?
shit. Like I would say honestly, if being attached to the phone too much, like
Oh.
kind of like a mental ick, just because it's like yeah. So it's like
My
I've
wife does that. She's like, I'm talking. Huh? What you said?
yeah. It's like, and that's the thing, because it's like it's like I went on a date with this girl, few dates with this one girl, and like we go out, whatever, and she just be like, and I'd be like talking, and all of a sudden she'd look at her phone, and like mid sentence, she'd just be like, "Oh my god, look at this," and I'm just like, okay, like
Unimpressed.
yeah,
Unimpressed
and
by the
so
whole deal.
like way to hold the conversation there. I'll just I'll hit you up on Messenger next time we want to hang out, or
Oh no. Friend zone.
pretty much.
Oh man. Number 7. Which is more prominent in your everyday life? The alphabet or the number system?
Definitely nowadays the number system. We talked about it a little bit before when we went before we went on the air.
Yeah.
I'm an assistant project manager for a commercial construction company. I live
Okay.
in Microsoft Excel now, and so as much as I didn't think that would be my life, numbers are numbers are much
Yes.
prominent in my life than letters these days. That's for dang sure.
Well, see, and my wife thought that was going to be a difficult question. Ha! Jokes on you, loser. Number 8. Favorite Pokemon from the original 150 Kanto region.
Oh, you're bringing out the big hitters now, my man. Oh my god.
Gotta pick one. Gotta pick one. Gotta pick one.
Fucking um,
It's Pikachu. Fuck. It's one
like
of my favorite memes of all time. It's so great.
I love Pikachu, man, but like he was
Overrated.
yeah, he wasn't in my top.
Of course
I
not.
would say, and I'm not gonna go Charizard either because that's a little too cliche too, I feel. Charizard is an OG, but I mean like, it's a lot.
That's the one with the hologram card, right? The Charizard.
Yep. Speaking of devil, real quick too.
Oh, there we go. Wait, what we got? Oh, flexing over here.
Some things never die. Some things never die. But
I had a gut feeling this question was going to be fun for us. Okay.
Oh yes, but
gotta pick one.
Yeah, let me. Oh God. I'm trying to think of all the ones I used. Sheesh. You know.
I knew this was the one.
It is. It is. You know what? I'm gonna go with it. It's gonna be a bit of a random choice, I know, but I'm gonna go with Eevee because first off, it's cute, and who doesn't like cute dogs? And second is that I enjoyed all the different evolutions, and I thought it was cool as hell having them. Like especially in like the later versions when like they made more. Like I had a whole team of Eevees one time. I crushed the Elite Four with that. So. So that's the thing. So like in terms of that, like I said, I wanted to give the fans a little something outside the box, and so that's my outside the box answers. It's not because of the base one; it's because of the possibilities.
Oh, that's why I always liked Eevee. I love the fact that those evolutions, there was like 8 evolutions to it, and I could just fuck with it.
Yeah.
Now, before I give you number 9. You were mentioning earlier that sometimes when you're backstage and you're riffing with people and you're accidentally showing your wrestling IQ, that everyone gets so impressed. Well, number 9, we're going to test you right now with number 9. And it goes like this. In a tag team match between dueling brother states, North and South Carolina versus North and South Dakota, who are the baby faces? Who are the heels? Who do you put over? And what's the finish?
Oh my God.
Let's start small here. Who are the baby faces between the two teams?
Okay, so South Carolina is the baby face in this, and
North and South are a team.
Oh, they're a team.
It's North and South Carolina versus North and South Dakota.
Oh, my bad.
That's 2-on-2. So you're gonna make the Carolinas the baby face, and you're making the Dakotas the heels.
I'm gonna switch that because
switch.
Yeah, because North Carolina. Whenever I think of North Carolina, I think North Carolina Tar Heels, Michael Jordan. So I shouldn't say that's what I think, but that's the first thing that comes to mind because I was a big basketball guy in the '90s. But anywho, so because of that, you think Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's the greatest of all time. So the baby face is the one that's got to topple the big bad guy. The guy that wins all the time.
Okay.
So the Dakotas are going to come in and they're going to use some kind of power. Oh, it's going to have to do because I think there isn't like there a motorcycle rally up there somewhere.
Yeah, Sturgis.
Yes. So there's going to be, and I'm going like really outside the box. This is like some freaking like WCW like 2000.
It's a ridiculous question. So get outside as far outside the box as you want.
So basically the bikers from Sturgis are gonna be like, yo, Michael Jordan and his crew, we're tired of them beating us and everything. F this. We're gonna do something about it. So Mount Rushmore is also in the Dakotas, right?
I believe so.
All right. So the bikers are all from Sturgis are all gonna get together. They're gonna do some kind of biker magic. And they're gonna turn the president.
I love it.
They're gonna turn
Mount Rushmore is in South Dakota, correct? I just looked it up. Yes.
Nice, sure. Good. It's good to know. I know my somewhat of my geography still.
There you go.
But so the bikers are gonna do biker magic, and they're gonna turn the stone heads of the presidents into Mount Rushmore into like anthropomorphic, like giant rock monsters, kind of like they did that one time. And so
planning to run in. What is he? He was stacking the deck.
Yeah, so then the bikers are gonna come full force, coming down the highway cross country with the giant stone presidents from Mount Rushmore behind.
Careful, flight was invented in the Carolinas. Hold on. Got the high flying heels over here.
Well, that's the thing. Then Michael Jordan's gonna, he's gonna have, his basketball. He's gonna have the coach Dean Smith, running point.
Oh my God, they're being managed by Dean Smith. The Dakotas don't have a shot. They don't have a chance.
But that's the thing, though.
That's heel manager.
but between bikers and so basically it's going to come down to the stone presidents are swatting planes. Michael Jordan's doing his best to try and like use to throw the basketballs that have Space Jam magic in them at him. He's falling.
He beat the Monstars. He could beat Mount Rushmore.
Exactly. That's his thought process. But then here's the thing though, is that he's got some of his friends there, and one of his friends going along the lines of Space Jam now, which I just thought of, is Bill Murray. And Bill Murray pulls the ultimate swerve because he thought secretly that he should have had top billing in Space Jam.
Oh,
So he gives them Bill Murray's, them being the bikers and the Stone Presidents, he gives them Bill Murray's special sauce, and that gives them the power to put an end to Michael Jordan and the North Carolina and South Carolina Tar Heels, which he annexed South Carolina to become more Tar Heels.
Tar Heels. So you put the Dakotas are walking away with the W on this.
Yes.
The baby faces will rise up.
Baby faces always overcome.
I think you just rebooked the tag match for WrestleMania Night 1. Let's put that one on the PLE. Oh man. Our final question, number 10 of our random as fuck questions. Worst prank / rib you have ever experienced? Might have been against you, might have been one that you saw. Just a funny ass, just what's the worst rib ever?
Does it have to be from the wrestling business, or can it be
no.
Okay. So my direct supervisor at work, he's like I said, I'm an assistant project manager. He's a full-blown project manager. So I work in tandem with him, but he does a lot of the heavy lifting. I just basically do all the liaisoning, so to speak. So there's a lot more to it than that, but that's a general of it. So there was one day I forgot what exactly the thing was, but I said something to him, and he goes, "No, Jim said you got to do this." And I was just like, and Jim is the vice president of the region. So he goes, "Jim said you got to do this. I can't help you." And he's got a stone cold face on. And I'm just like, Dan, what do you mean? Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. You got to help me. He goes, "No, dude, I ain't helping you. This is your project. I told you."
This is on your plate, buddy.
Yeah, because Jim is going to do. Jim said you got to do this, and I'm not going to I'm not going to, incur his wrath and stuff like that. I'm going to do what he says. You got to figure this out all by yourself, and there's nothing I can do about it. And like, my face went ghost white. I'm like, I'm going to get fired. Like, this is going to go so haywire. Like, I'm screwed. And then, like, he literally just sees my face just turn into like the evil person from The Ring, the one that comes out of the TV.
You're as pale as you've ever been in here.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, I'm about to like start walking out of his office, and I turn and I see him freaking giggling like a little schoolgirl trying to hold it in. And I was just like, "You mother!" Like, I was literally about to shit my pants at that point, man.
My asshole's never been tighter, you son of a bitch.
Exactly. So, and that's just one of the many. I will give you a
Jesus. One of the many.
I will give you a wrestling one too, just because I just it's not. I wanted to get that one because that was truly like one of the times where I really like I felt like I had gotten like really bad. But a little lesser one, but just kind of just boys will be boys. Hanging out pre-show was Big Jim Anderson. Miss you, Big Jim. Love you, big guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So he was always like messing around backstage and stuff like that. And there was one time, it was a blood, sweat, and tear show down in Bridgeport, and I was talking to somebody, and like we were just having a conversation. It's maybe 10 minutes before the first bell. Big Jim just walks by and just out of nowhere just gives me a Jimmy tap, and he got me good, man. So I'm just like, oh, and like I'm feeling it. And like I think it was like Nathaniel Carr was the one I was talking to, and he just looks over at Jim. He's like, "You just killed the ring announcer 10 minutes before he's got to go on." And I'm just like, oh, my voice might be a little high pitched to start off, man.
The following contest is
One fall.
Attention, front row. If you see a testicle on the ground, please put it on ice and hand it over to the nearest stage manager.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. So yeah. So in the wrestling sphere, that was definitely a good one too. And anytime I get to mention Big Jim, I'm always happy to do. And I miss that dude a lot. So
Yeah, he was a good dude. I only got a chance to meet him one time, briefly. It was crossing of shows, but there were so many people that stepped up when he had passed away. I was like, wow, this guy, this guy did some cool stuff, man. Some
hell
really,
yeah.
really cool stuff. Matty, great time having you on the show, man. It's officially in the books. The first independent spotlight guest, Matt DaCorte. He is the man. Is there anywhere that the fans can come check out your stuff? You want to plug the socials and all that other stuff?
Sure thing, and also real quick too, to thank you very much, AJ. Again, very happy to be here. Very honored to be the first one in this new thing you got going on. And if you want to follow me, if you want to see where I'm gonna be at, every now and then I post some photos of the collection. As we saw here earlier today, some of the fun trinkets I get. You can follow me, Matt DaCorte, on Facebook, MattDacorte. Once again, if you want to know how to pronounce my name, I cracked up AJ with this beforehand. You got a ticket, you take it to DaCorte.
I'll never forget it now that you say that like that.
My boy in college did, but it just kind of stuck. So I like throwing that in there when I can. But yeah, Matt DaCorte on Facebook, at MJ DaCorte on Instagram. I do not have Twitter/X because I don't like it there. So
Fair
I
enough.
deleted that. So yeah,
Fair enough.
at MJ DaCorte on Instagram, Matt DaCorte on Facebook. Like I said, come check it out. We got I always post about the goings on around the Northeast and some of the funny, wacky stuff I get into on the side too. So
No problem, dude. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank
thank
you so much for being numero uno. Whoever's after you will literally be number two.
you. Hopefully,
Whoever. Say again. I didn't catch you. What?
I said hopefully he doesn't turn out to be the biggest number two.
Or she. Oh. Oh man, have a good night, brother. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Absolutely, AJ. Thanks again, my man.